I am coming from the world of Hoth. That's a little bit cold, and Mark has Obi-Wan Kenobi and serial rapist Anakin Skywalker as his companions. But
I mean,
today, Mark, we're going to differ and kind of go away from the MCU, and we're going to talk about something that you hold near and dear, Star Wars. So why don't you break us down as to what we're talking about today?
I am the more passionate about the wars in the stars, a galaxy far, far away and such. It, we have shared opinions on this in the past, and it's something that I think that we've always had really interesting discussions about, and it's something that always bugs me about other people that really enjoy Star Wars, or the niche group, or the I don't even know what to call it, the following, the whatever, right? All of the people who discuss this in wherever they are on the internet, those people always seem to hold one movie above all of the rest of them, and I feel like they're wrong. So that might be giving away my opinion. I don't care. But I felt like this is something that we could talk about, that we can dig into, because both of us grew up in the time frame of not the original trilogy, not the prequels, but like in the middle, where things were on home video. You had access to watch them repetitively. You just picked up on what stuck out to you as a kid, and what was, interesting, and what you understood. So how old were you when you saw your first Star Wars movie?
I was actually pretty young, man. So Star Wars, I can legitimately remember watching A New Hope around 5. And so I started fairly early, and I watched A New Hope probably the most out of all of them. But kind of what we're talking about today, which is, the controversial opinion, is Return of the Jedi. I think we both have like a passion for that movie, and we like that better than Empire Strikes Back. And yeah, so I mean, like, I was still fairly young, and you were around the same age, right?
I was around the same age. I remember distinctly watching them on Betamax.
Me too.
That's when I remember them,
That's
which
the
definitely
only
dates
way.
us. Millennials won't understand what we're talking about. Even though I think I don't know if we're millennials or not, but either way, there's a lot of people that'll be like, Beta, what is this? It was a high quality video and audio experience, is what it was, and it was very, very interestingly gigantic of a video cassette recorder. But yeah, I totally remember access to these, and it always bugs me when people tout Empire Strikes Back as the best Star Wars, because for me, there are at least two that are better.
What was the big reason as to why you didn't like it? And this is like, childhood, Mark. Like, why did you not like Empire?
It always just struck me as, like, it just never caught me. It didn't get me throughout. It wasn't anything that did it. I liked the constant strength of Luke throughout Jedi. I mean, that was like, a far superior lightsaber fight at the end of it. Like, there's so many little things that I think as a kid you're just like, yep, that's awesome. Didn't have a problem with Ewoks as a child, which apparently bother a lot of people. Those are really, really good small actors that are, all practically affected.
So, shout out to the little people.
Oh,
shout out to the little people.
Dude, is it okay to call them little people?
That's the preferred term.
Okay.
Geez, Mark, from the last episode, I think you're not really up to speed.
Take me as I am, Ding. I can still do this all day.
That's true.
And that's why we're insulting to people all day, apparently. Which my background could be insulting to those who enjoy the purity of the original version of Return of the Jedi. But I mean, George's had his hands in everything.
I will.
What about
say
you?
That, well, back to your background, I do prefer the creepy Anakin Skywalker. It's just so funny to me. And I think it should be known that I rewatched both of these, and so did you before
Mhm.
this, literally a few hours ago that I just finished watching this up. But the reason why I liked Jedi better is it wasn't sad. You know, like when you're a little kid, you want to see the happy endings, you want to see the good guys win. Good guys did not win in Empire. And I wouldn't say that it was scary, but it definitely wasn't satisfying for, you know, 7-year-old Dan or 5-year-old Dan when I watched this. And so it was like, you know, I was in a different mindset, and I enjoyed the Ewoks. I mean, you know, I'll kind of go into, you know, like what I remember about that movie. Um, I thought Luke's plan to save Han was like really cool. You know, like he had all these people into their own little spots, and some people were not aware of certain things, like C-3PO. Ewoks were just the cutest, man. Like seriously, after rewatching it again, I still think they're the cutest. And Wicket, like I really remember that particular one. I think that's the only one everyone always remembers. But you know, who wouldn't want like a little furry teddy bear walking around giving you hugs and stuff like that? You know what? Another thing I really, really liked was the cute little villager music at the end of the movie. So I really, really liked that as a little kid. I just thought it was, you know, fun. You know, it's like if there was a pop song on the radio for a 5-year-old, that would probably be on like my top 10 for that.
Well, I mean, I don't think either of these movies lacked dynamic music. I mean, John Williams, kudos all around, all
Yeah.
around. But I agree that there's just so much character development. There's additional characters. It's the first time you get to see just a slew of different kinds of creatures that you got to see in A New Hope. That just it's not there in Empire. It's like, oh, look, lots of stormtroopers, lots of rebel troopers, and a lot of people get killed. And then Yoda, which I mean, shout out to the first appearance of Yoda. You know, that there's it. I was not recently because it's 2022 and nobody's gone outside since, you know, February of 2020. But I did in February of 2020 acquire something from Galaxy's Edge that caught my eye, and I don't know if you can see it or if you can't, but it's totally the flashlight from Empire Strikes Back. Because I thought it would just be an awesome behind your desk prop for working from home, because I did that pre-COVID.
No, I
You know,
will. I have to ask, has anyone been like, hey, is that Yoda's flashlight?
they have not. It has been almost since I set up the shelf and everything back there. It's probably been close to a year. Close to a year.
Someone's like, hey, Mark, I think you left your
It
tool on
sits
the shelf.
so it sits next to a red stapler on the shelves behind me, and everybody calls that out first, you know.
Of course.
And then I believe they like my stapler.
That's awesome.
That's a different movie to discuss.
It is,
Another
and
great movie.
I can talk about that all day too. So.
Oh yes.
So all right, so we kind of talked about what we liked about Jedi and, you know, what we remembered about it. I will say, like, kind of talking about Empire is, you know, from what I remember before rewatching everything, you know, Dak, Luke's gunner, dude, is the shittiest.
Luke's
Like,
5-second gunner.
yeah, man, when you say that I feel like I could take the Empire all by myself, you better be an ass kicker. And here's the funny thing about that is, like, so he says that line, and they're going on their run or whatever, and I will arguably say that Luke is responsible for Dak's death.
Because he tells him not to fix the problem that ends up blowing up in his face.
Yes.
So let me clue you into what I felt by watching Empire in its entirety, and we can go from beginning to end and walk through this movie, scene by scene, because every scene in Empire is a scene of failure. Everything. They fail to do a thing. Whether it's I failed to survive riding my cold horse outside. I
Tauntaun.
couldn't find the meteor. Yes, no, I respect the Tauntaun. I do. I couldn't ride my Tauntaun, and I couldn't use my Luke tingle to feel the Wampa coming to smack me in the face. To the best of my knowledge, and I've read a lot of comics and a lot of books that are legends and books that aren't, I don't remember Wampas being like unable to be sensed by the Force and magical creatures. I just remember them being kind of like Yetis. And there's one out there that's missing an arm somewhere.
I will say though, like, he was in the middle of like a freaking snowstorm. And so he might not have been focusing on, whatever else is around him. All it is snow. And,
So
in Luke's
both
defense,
of us have come from a cold climate. Have you ever been snuck up on in snow? It's so hard to move in snow, and it's
true.
already a slow-moving creature, as defined by how long Luke had to like figure out his little forcey grab thing out of the block of ice to get his lightsaber. It was the most ominous slow walk ever. He got like Grandpa Wampa coming to get him, and it's no.
He was snacking on something else in the cave, so like Luke was dessert apparently.
Well, Luke wasn't dessert because Wampa failed to eat Luke.
Yes.
Han failed to rescue. Rebels failed to fix snow speeders. Han failed to rescue Luke. Tauntaun failed to survive the rescue mission and turned into a sleeping bag. He failed to bring Luke back. I'll semantically fix that statement you were going to stop me at.
Okay. I mean, he still saved him. He would have died for sure, right? Mm-hmm. And like, okay, so so going into why Empire is kind of ridiculous is after he escapes, Ben, Obi-Wan Kenobi, his mentor, shows up and is like, Luke, I know you're fucking cold, but you gotta go to Dagobah. All right, so just remember that, Dagobah.
Don't worry, it's warm there. Yeah. But apparently meditation and passing out, both very similar states for a Jedi. It's not ours to understand, it's only ours to accept. Also, one thing I noticed at the beginning of this movie is there's a considerable amount of animal cruelty that goes on. Like, we're just gonna cut up all the animals. And this must have been pre-PETA.
It's kind of throughout the whole Star Wars series, if you think about it. You might be onto something.
Yeah, there's definitely some animal cruelty, but I think that it's accentuated in even some of the merchandise that's sold these days. You can buy a Tauntaun sleeping bag and a Wampa skin rug. Like, they really lean into that. Like, no Ewok garb going on here. No Ewok fur coats, but yeah, no, we're doing a Wampa skin rug.
I have to ask you about the Tauntaun. So like when Han slit it open when you were young, were you like, what the hell is this? Like, why did he do that?
Well, he kept saying it'll keep you warm, it don't smell good. Like, so the one thing I'll say to the writing is it tries to explain things simply for little kids. No, it'll keep him warm.
But how? As a little kid, obviously as an adult, I kind of understand it. I think I understand it. But when I was younger, like, so you cut him up and that keeps you like it's a fire, like you're gonna put that's some nice Tauntaun right there.
Danny, I that didn't stick out to me as a kid. It was just like,
how does it not? You're a kid and an animal gets split open and you don't see what happens. And that it boggles my mind that as a kid you would not like grab onto that.
You know what? I was really disappointed that Cliff Clavin couldn't fix the air speeders, and don't understand what about air speeders couldn't go on when it's cold out. Like, I didn't get why they couldn't go out during the day versus not, because all of this is based on turbine engineering and electric power. Like, they're not running around with gas. I mean, they're nuclear or something of that nature, right? This isn't Star Trek where they get into the warp core thing, right? We're not shoved in the face with what the masterful use of power is here, right? But it's not petrol. They're running on something, and electricity doesn't freeze.
Fair enough.
So
I get
the
it.
whole why'd you hire a mailman to handle your fleet of electric cars?
Hey man,
That
people,
doesn't make sense.
people
Shout
need
out to
work.
John Ratzenberger. Mad respect. For those of you that didn't know, John Ratzenberger's in Empire Strikes Back.
I actually did not realize that. And
Oh,
really,
totally.
so what part?
When Han is yelling to try and find Luke,
It's him.
John Ratzenberger is in that scene.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Huh.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. I have a lot of useless information in between my ears. That's
No, I
why I
love
can
that.
do this all day.
I love that type of stuff. And you will be I mean, you are the Star Wars authority on that. So out of both of us, I have watched Star Wars many a times, and I would probably say it might even be in the triple digits for A New Hope. Empire might be in like, I mean, that might even be like in the 60 range. But Jedi probably in the 75 range. But it's so funny because like Empire is the critically more accepted of the movies. Jedi has been trashed amongst fans alike, and critics, and there's a lot of like backstory of like how it got kind of monkeyed around with and everything, which I will leave you up to come up with some fun nuggets and everything. But on the record, I used to not like Empire. It was my least favorite. But you know what changed my mind is Kevin Smith talking about it in his movies. In Clerks, for sure. When Randall is talking about like Empire, that's easy. The whole movie is a downer. That's what life is. And I didn't get that, but I thought it was like the cool thing to like Empire because Randall did in Clerks.
Randall, definitely my favorite character from Clerks, and Jeff Anderson, a wonderful director and hesitant actor who's got some just gravitas on the stage. Love Jeff Anderson. Excited for Clerks 3 when that comes out, and hopes that there is a trashing of the sequels at some point during that film. I'm excited.
Did his opinion in Clerks sway you to be like, actually, yeah, you know what? Empire wasn't that bad. It was cool.
No, because I don't care. Return of the Jedi is better,
Okay.
and it's always been better. And maybe I'm just an optimistic person. Like, I get the sad part of Clerks. I've been a clerk before. I've worked in like a gas station, convenience store, or video store, which is by far the best job I've ever had. And guarantee there's been double-digit watchings of all the Star Wars movies. And when I worked at the video store, just playing on the TV, right? But in general, I preferred the argument about non-union labor building the second Death Star on how all those contractors really knew what they were getting into. And the story about the guy who got like shot while doing a roofing job.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of my
that
favorite
was
parts.
that was one of the things that really made me know that Kevin Smith is my spirit animal. Like, oh, we've really dissected this down to something that is just completely ridiculous, and I love it. It's amazing.
So you probably get the inkling and kind of what I'm alluding to. So like I like Jedi better because it was more kid friendly, and I just liked it better as a kid because I like happy endings. I know what you're thinking. Keep your mind out of the gutter. But yes, that's also true.
I
But
wasn't thinking that. That would be a stereotype.
oh man, which isn't. like unless you're talking about a stereotype for men, but that's another episode altogether. That's on the Patreon, so check us out on patreon.com/I can do all
Wow.
this. I can do this all day.
Yeah, you can log into our OnlyFans for that.
There you go. Yeah. Well,
That's
actually, after this will be the only hands, where it's just us and pictures of Han Solo naked. But so going into my overall feelings, so I rewatched this, and I was like super surprised at how much I did not appreciate Empire and how much I thought Jedi was dog shit. Now I still enjoy watching them both, but from like an adult view, more mature sense, and almost from like I'm no movie critic, but just from a overall story sense, I definitely changed my mind. And Empire is hands down a better movie. I won't say I like it better, but I would say it's a better movie. And I've got a lot of stuff here that we're going to be able to talk about. But do you mind if I start off with just like really quick with like for Jedi?
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Dude, I thought this was super ridiculous, and I hope that you at least gave some thought to this as you were rewatching some stuff. But so Vader goes to the new Death Star in Jedi, right? And tells the guy in charge, like, ooh, the Emperor's gonna be pissed at you, and he's coming here, so he's gonna tell you himself. And so that's what Vader tells the guy. Not so much in that tone, obviously, but it's like Vader was like the hall monitor, and he was telling on the guy. It was like, oh no, he's not gonna like that. He's gonna be super pissed. He's gonna come here and he's gonna yell at you. And so that's put out there, right? It never comes to fruition. Nothing ever happens to that. Emperor doesn't say shit. He
Because
goes
it's
there.
operational when he gets there.
Yeah, but there was nothing. Like, why would you even throw that in to dialogue? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, get that out of the script. Just say, as Darth Vader, Emperor's coming, and then everyone's like, "Oh, the Emperor's coming here. This is fantastic," or something. You don't have to say like he's very unpleased with your progress.
Maybe they were going slow and it kicked him up. This is Vader's secret project to manage. He got promoted to an Imperial project manager.
Then he's a shitty manager, Mark, and you and I both know, as our lives have managed certain teams and everything, that is just poor management. And also,
I think that he displays that. Hang on, I have a counter to this poor project management discussion solely on everything we see Vader do in Empire Strikes Back. All he does is kill subordinates. You choke, you're promoted. Guess what? Later on, choked. So he does all of this from the same starship, and at some point, how is there not a mutiny?
I guess I'm just like kind of upset with the fact that I never viewed Darth Vader as like I never viewed him as gaslighting people, and that's exactly what he did. I was like,
the Sith rule through fear. Fear is their allies using fear to motivate.
Yeah, I guess I just
nobody said the Sith were good leaders.
It didn't make sense though. That fine. You want to choke people? Good. I'm all for it. But like, especially as a Sith Lord. But it didn't make any sense that he made that comment. So like that, I'm gonna start picking up on like things like the script. Like the script was piss poor, and there's like a lot of dialogue. So I'm gonna use another example.
Okay, keep going, because I disagree. Okay. I think the dialogue in Jedi is better, but keep going.
Okay. So there's the conversation between the Emperor and Vader when he says, and I jotted this down, not verbatim, but how you can take it, interpret it. So the Emperor says, I thought I told you to stay on the fucking command ship. Vader retorts, but the rebels are on Endor. Emperor says, yeah, I know. And then Vader says, and Luke is there. Emperor, are you sure? You sure you ain't tripping? Vader, I'm not tripping. Emperor says, if you ain't tripping, then you need to go to the moon and wait for him. Vader responds, nah, son, he'll come to me. Like, what the?
No. The Emperor tells him that Luke will come to him, and Vader questions the Emperor like, he's going to come to me? And the Emperor says, I have foreseen it.
Yeah,
Get your
Emperor
shit
does it.
together.
I have foreseen it. He really likes you, and that's where we fuck him up. He will come to you, and then you bring him to me to do some weird old man shit to him. And Vader's like, you got it, dude. Like,
They're looking to turn him evil. It's the whole point. They're tempting the hero. This is all very Kurosawa. The entire first trilogy is based on the hero's journey.
I rewrote that little bit of dialogue, and it's Vader that says, like, Luke is going to come to me. And the Emperor...
He says it as a question.
Before...
He will come to me?
Said, I don't think he did.
I guarantee he did. Guaranteed. Don't make me quote direct dialogue from Jedi. It's really kind of sad to see.
The funny thing is, though, it's like the Emperor's like, are you sure that Luke is there? Vader's like, yes, he's there. And the Emperor's
It's just
like,
funny
well,
that I have not felt his presence.
Yeah.
Not in verbatim.
Yeah. And then, so he's asking him, like, hey, are you sure? And he's like, and then the Emperor says, like, yes, I've foreseen it. Like, what the fuck did you foresee? You just said, you asked him, like, hey, are you sure about that? And like, then, oh yeah, I've foreseen it. Like, there's wild inconsistency.
Are you mad that premonition isn't perfect? Like the act of premonition isn't perfect?
If you're gonna have a premonition and declare it seconds after you ask the
you might be a bad guy.
Are you sure? Hey,
you might be a Sith Lord.
It's just so bad. But I don't know, man. Like it's just that dialogue back and forth was like piss poor to me, and I didn't realize it until like I'm watching this. I'm like, oh yeah, I did enjoy Jedi, and then I'm like, what the fuck is this about? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
We know what it's about later on in the film, so it's okay. They get there. We can continue the failure train with Empire. Where did we leave off? Han fails to properly return Luke.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. And then Luke fails to properly not kiss his sister. Leia and Han fail to properly exit the planet. Han fails to properly find a parking space in an asteroid. Instead, he parks in the biggest Muppet I've ever seen.
Can we pause on that just for a second?
Pause.
Actually, you know what? Let's go back to
it up. Rewind. Where are we going?
So
do you want to go to the ridiculous fight, the ridiculous battle? And so I have a big problem with what is considered to be like this amazing shot and sequence in Empire where they do the roundabout the thing and then they reference it in the MCU. There's video games where you can do it, right? The whole tow cable around the giant walker. The tow cable is literally like a size enough where Luke can shoot it up and shoot up and then like lightsaber or something, right? So it's not like a considerable consistent cable, right? And this giant thing where the feet on it weigh more than God knows what, because they are literal wrecking balls. Like they show it crushing things.
Have you ever had your shoelaces tied together?
I don't have 4 legs. And I don't have a hydraulic lift pushing out my leg to move it forward. The hydraulics were so shitty that they couldn't sever a cable. It didn't need to sever the cable in 8 places. It just needed to break it once to get loose. And How are they creating tautness when it's still moving? It makes no physics sense.
You're right, and Peter Parker would probably agree with you that it doesn't.
It works on people because they have two legs. The instability of the scout walkers in Jedi makes sense because there's two legs and they're smaller. But this giant AT-AT stands for all terrain, and it's not all terrain. They fall down and immediately just are neutralized. Like, meh, done.
Okay, so for the record, for the Star Wars nerds, which there's very few things that I think that you will out Star Wars me, or that I would out Star Wars you on, is it's at. That is official. It is at. But
it's all-terrain armored transport, and you can use whatever you want.
It's at just for the record. But yeah, man. Like, so as I was watching that battle scene, you obviously you're hung up on some physics, which I think might be nitpicking because the fact that, keep in mind, dude, we're watching movies about a mythical force, and you're caught up on physics and a tow cable, which, hey man, I'm willing to oversee. I get it. I totally get it. Appreciate your point, but I think you're nitpicking there, and you're reaching a little bit. But
oh wait, I can pick some other dish. I have more additional technology failure nits for you. We could keep going.
Okay, but
I could do that all day.
So as I'm watching this though, that battle was pretty damn good, and I thought like a lot of the battles in Jedi just were not up to par. They weren't the same type of intensity. They weren't the same type of variety, and they were just shot better overall from a cinematic point of view. I'm getting a little bit.
I think that the battle in Empire, at least the beginning battle, the Hoth battle, was very trench to incoming. Like there were more battles at a war perspective, like a larger scale. Another reason that I really love Jedi is most of the battles took place in space. I'm big on like the ships and things like that. The snow speeder that couldn't go into space, which again, like it can't seal up. Like why is this? Why do we have to change ships here? And why aren't we just using the X-Wings, which have proton torpedoes, which could easily blow up those AT-ATs?
Wasn't there like some type of comment, or was that about the speeders?
That was about the speeders. It was about the speeders that they couldn't get to work, but the X-Wings worked fine. And we're not using the X-Wings, which have missiles that can penetrate whatever spaceship shields. We're not using those.
I might say, is it proton torpedoes? Is that what they?
Yeah, proton torpedoes. But do you want to know why they're not using those? I'll give you another thing that bothers me about Empire. Yeah. And this is not a shot at Carrie Fisher. Love Carrie Fisher, but in A New Hope, they talk about Alderaan being a peaceful planet with no weapons, and in Empire Strikes Back, she is planning the attack. What books did you read? How did you get to I go from we're peaceful to I'm a 5-star general?
Okay, but can't you, from a viewing the movie just by itself perspective, can you just let that go? And how much of your list that is contingent on other parts of the movies where it's like inconsistency or anything like that, where it's like, if you were to view this movie just by itself, do you still view Jedi? That's where I'm coming from. Do you still view Jedi better than Empire? Because I agree. There's Carrie Fisher also had, Princess Leia had an accent in A New Hope. You don't see that shit after that. If anything,
there were a lot more English actors around, so she just picked it up naturally. No, I still do. Even on their own, enjoy Jedi more. I think that the impact along the way of the hero's journey, you get the real big bad. I think that it adds depth to the evil as well, and gravitas to the evil instead of it just being Vader.
Yeah.
Getting the Vader and the Empire, seeing the turn of Anakin, seeing the sacrifice for the father sacrifice for the son. I mean, the big impact of Jedi was Luke, I'm your father. But
wait, hold on. I'm going to
I know
correct
that's
you
the wrong
again.
line. I know it's the wrong line.
Okay.
But in general, that was the big impact, and that's oh, it was the big reveal. Yeah, but we hadn't seen the Emperor in person yet either, and we hadn't seen exactly what the Emperor could do. We hadn't seen Jabba and that whole thing. I mean, it created, like I said, it created all of these different things. We hadn't seen a Rancor. We hadn't seen Luke at nearly full power. I mean, I
All
know
right.
that later on. So I think there's a lot, man. There's a lot, but
Because
keep going. You got a list.
yeah, no. Like I want to. I think I could kind of go all over the place, and anyone who's watching or listening to this, they'll probably be big enough fans of Star Wars to kind of make their own opinions about our opinions. But Rancor, overrated. I mean, really, just come on. Like for Luke to be a Jedi and be able to not slay a beast like that, like correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't like fucking Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan like ride whales, like space whales, much larger than Rancors and Phantom Menace, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
There was
no,
some type of sea creature or some shit,
yeah,
right?
they drove us a bongo through the sea on their way to Theed to see the Queen, and they all ended up on Tatooine.
Okay, so they
To quote
could
Weird Al.
befriend that beast, and like aren't the Jedi supposed to be one
But they
with the
didn't.
Force?
They didn't befriend the beast. The beast tried to eat them.
Well,
There
then
was no
that's the case. So
befriending.
like,
Jar
but
Jar
they
followed them places.
but they were okay, and Luke really struggled. My issue with Luke, um, I was okay with Empire, him struggling. Right, he had a little bit of skill, and by the way, that lightsaber duel between him and Vader in Empire, way better than Jedi.
No,
Way better.
no, there was much less flippy spinny. There was a considerable amount more fight choreography in Jedi, and they had this whole mental battle as well, with Luke holding on to the fact that Leia is his sister. There's all of these other things going on that build gravitas and suspense in the scene, because in Empire it was just Luke and Vader. That was it. Like, you knew Han was frozen, much like Captain America. He was frozen to be gotten later.
Oh,
Luckily, it
hold on.
wasn't so much later.
I have
That
to
was
defend.
such a steal from Captain America. That was such a Marvel steal. What are we gonna do with our hero? Oh, we'll freeze them. They like that.
Yeah, I'm going to defend Captain America's honor because it's not just like Captain America. Because Han Solo was captured where there was sacrifice from Captain America. By the way, Han Solo, overrated to me.
I mean, from Vader's point of view, he was ready to sacrifice Solo to know that he could freeze Luke.
Yeah.
So both of us are right from a certain point of view.
I love the callback to that. But isn't that kind of crazy, like how the Jedi are just so fucking shady? They really are. They're the worst. They had this whole and we're getting into the prequels a little bit, or I'm getting into the prequels, but like Yoda, did he really need to put on this big facade for Luke? Like, the senile old Muppet.
Hang on. Luke literally failed to ask him who he was or introduce himself. Luke was just a dick who couldn't park his own plane. Like, here's my technological beef with Empire. Two things. One, Luke, like, I can't, there's no sensors. R2 doesn't have sensors. I can't just land the plane properly. It doesn't hover. Like, all of this has happened literally earlier in the movie. We're going to hover and then we're going to take off. Like, I have none of these skills now. And okay, maybe there's interference, whatever. But the other thing that makes no sense whatsoever is when they're going into the asteroid field and the big like Star Destroyers are like, oh man, there's asteroids. It's like you have a tractor beam. Like just flip that shit in reverse and it'll push them out of the way for you, bro. It's okay. I've seen the thing that Obi-Wan played with, just reverse the polarity and you're good. You guys are science people.
Just like that.
You'll get it going.
Reverse the polarity.
Dude, act like in any other movie they can't figure that shit out. Shit, Ghostbusters just reversed the streams.
But has that ever happened in any of the movies? Reversing the polarity? Like for
you know what? Fine. Grab a big asteroid with the tractor beam. Just hold it in front of you. You don't even got to reverse anything. You just grab it.
Oh man,
it literally makes no sense.
That argument is flawed. You can't. That's like saying for a magnet. If I had a magnet, it's like, oh, I don't want it to come completely to the magnet. I just want it to stay at a certain distance, and then I'll use that as the shield. I think you're nitpicking, man. I think
you know what else? You know what else really bugs me about it is they're scanning for life forms on these asteroids, right? And okay, I could see not finding the Falcon and the little tiny life forms that are in the Falcon, but you know what they're sitting in? A fucking giant life form. A fucking giant life form.
Yes.
They can't find that.
What kind of giant life form? Like just
is a really big Muppet, dude. It was a big old Muppet. It was a big one with little Muppets inside of it. It was amazing. Ensign at their best.
How did they like also that? To me, I get what you're saying. It didn't make sense, and there's obviously a logical flaw there. But I don't know. Like when I'm looking at all the different action scenes that they had, Hoth, I thought was a fantastic action scene because it had realistic, military type action, and you said it kind of yourself was, there were soldiers in the trenches, there were AT-ATs walking around, there were the snow speeders. So there's variety of that type of battle, which is great. And they hadn't seen that before besides like, hey, you're in an X-Wing or a B-Wing. And then you
didn't get B-Wings until Jedi. All you had was X-Wings and Y-Wings. That was it in the first one.
Sorry, I forgive my Star Wars ignorance on that, but
it's okay.
I loved A New Hope, and I love that the attack on the Death Star, but there was just that along with ground fighting, if you will. But this is like truly war, almost like guerrilla warfare in the sense they've got their strategic snow gear on and all that stuff.
So guerrilla warfare is more focused as jungle warfare, which is what happened in Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Where Captain Rex and the rest of Captain Solo's crew, or General Solo,
I'm glad you bring that up.
Went through the thing.
Hold on. I gotta go over like this whole ranking thing. This is the easiest military to get promoted in. Like seriously, you just need to attend, and you will probably become a general in the next movie. Like I don't get it.
A lot of people die, Danny. A lot of people die.
I mean,
but that is true on both sides. If you work in the Imperial Navy, you'll be an admiral eventually because Vader's just going to choke everybody to death.
True. But I guess it was so unbelievable. And I will say one of the things that I did not really like, the pieces of information and dialogue between Han Solo and whoever the freaking general was. It's like, General, I got to get going.
General Nadine.
So, who was it?
Like Nadine or something like that, the dude.
Yeah, I don't know.
With the ginger beard. Yes.
And he's like complete. No. He didn't have a beard. This is just some other dude. He's like, General, I need to go. And he's like, I understand. Excuse me? Like, I understand. Like, and then he goes into his logic. There's a price on my head. Yeah, that's not good to have a price on your head. So good luck, Solo. Like, where the hell kind of, that's poor management and poor leadership right there. Like, I understand you have to go. You didn't give me your reason yet, but you have to go. Good luck, man. Like, this is why the rebel army probably suffered so many defeats, like, and probably on Hoth, they probably could have done better in that battle if they had a better general.
You mean if they forced enrolled people instead of being a band of volunteers and misfits?
I guess though, but like, what from a practical perspective, maybe I'm nitpicking on this, but if you can nitpick on physics, I can nitpick on general leadership and military, protocol. You can't
So
just
let me
say,
ask you this. If you're a general, do you want soldiers like Solo who don't listen when you tell them stuff's not working and it's too dangerous to go outside, who don't listen when you tell them you should do, who's completely non-standardized, who's using military equipment to fix his own ship and can't get it done right, like can't fix his own ship. I made a lot of special modifications that apparently make it not able to start.
I get what you're, and I agree with you. But the funny thing is about that though is like, why he's okay with him leaving. He gives him his blessing to leave. He's like, "You're a hell of a fighter, Solo. I hate to lose you." What exactly did he fight besides, I get it in A New Hope. Like, what was he a good fighter? I don't know. Nothing has ever surfaced for me to believe so from a pure movie point of view.
No, there wasn't a pure movie point of view on that, and that's a been that was an argument from.
Trouble connecting. I'll keep trying.
Ooh,
We're gonna calm
first,
down Alexa here. There was not any movie jargon about it because there was a huge argument with George and when he wanted to start his movies, right? And we wanted more. And the great thing about Lucasfilms is they let people write books about what went on in between the movies. So there is a considerable amount of both now legends and current about what Solo did between all of the movies. One of the best Star Wars books out there actually happens between between Empire and Jedi. If you've ever read Shadows of the Empire, they made a book, they made a video game about it for
I've heard of
N64.
it.
One of the worst and best Star Wars video games of all time. But I digress. I think that you understand that Solo is good in a pinch, right? He is the reason that the Death Star got destroyed. If he wouldn't have helped Luke, Luke wouldn't have been in a functioning ship to make the last shot.
True.
So I mean, just that alone kind of gives him some prowess, and he's got a ship, and he makes the princess happy every now and then.
Okay. I said that I liked Empire better this time around. There's obviously things that I could nitpick on all the movies, but one of the most comical things for me was, like, even when I was little, was whoever played Rogue 2 is the shittiest actor.
Oh, he's so bad.
It's awful.
The guy who's like, is it looking for Captain Solo? Captain Solo here?
This is Rogue 2. Captain Solo.
Yeah, no.
It's some effort, man.
Well, first of all, again, technology, like you've got like radio transmitters in this world. They literally have something that they shot at the planet that is shooting radio signals out to a Star Destroyer far away.
Yeah.
And we can't handle like a little bit of curvature, because we've seen that Hoth is round because we've seen it from space.
Sure.
So I'm just like, I agree that his voice shouldn't have been necessary, and we should have all been saved that. But I mean,
even when
Ratzenberg can't do everything.
When he finds them, he's like, "This is Rogue 2. I found them. Like, that's his enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It's not like, I found him. I got him. I'm going in right now to save him. Like, no, it's like he takes his sweet ass time turning around. He just chuckles like, there they are. You know, like
Well,
he's the worst.
you gotta Han is like waving, like, oh look, I got out of the tauntaun, man. Do I stink? But come get me and put me in your somehow now functioning electric bus. Come and get me.
Do you think you could survive overnight inside an animal?
No, he said he's got to put the shelter up. He was really just trying to raise Luke's body temperature, and he had a
I
shelter.
forgot about that.
Yeah, he had a shelter. It was in his little pack on his cowboy tauntaun, my friend.
That's kind of ridiculous too, though. Like, why even did he need to bring up his body temperature? Couldn't he just, put up the shelter and he probably would have been fine?
I mean, honestly, it if you made me go out into the fucking cold and get stranded like that, one, I'm punishing the stupid thing that died, and two, like screw you, man. I'm gonna make you stinky. So hang on, I want to take a minute. I'm gonna take a minute and talk about Rogue 2, who in the movie his name is Zev. His real name is Christopher Malcolm. R.I.P. Christopher Malcolm died in 2014, but he was in such classics as Highlander, Labyrinth, and the sequel to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Shock Treatment.
Who was he in Highlander? Was he one of the cops?
He was Kirk Matunus, Kirk Matunus.
Okay.
He is not billed very highly. He's not Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, or Clancy Brown. But he was a background actor, much like he was in everything. He was the dad in Labyrinth, which is pretty awesome. And I think that the acting he did in 1980 in Return of the Jedi, or in The Empire Strikes Back, is the reason that he got such compelling roles in those future pieces. But he did continue to act into the late 90s. I'm looking at his IMDb because I'm a big nerd into what else he was in. He was in Spies Like Us as well.
Everything that you're saying right now is making me want to see him even less on the big screen or small screen. I'm not going to rent a DVD to go watch, what's his name again?
Christopher Malcolm.
Christopher Malcolm. Cool
Christopher
name.
Malcolm.
Shout out to the parents. That's a pretty badass name. But I almost want to just refer to him as Kirk Matunus from now on. But that name is that is Rogue 2's real name, is Kirk Matunus, I think. So no disrespect to any Highlander fans, because I'm sure him being a survivalist and former Marine, there's some there's some merit there. But when you're Rogue 2 and your acting is that shitty in one of the first few scenes of the movie, sorry, not a big fan. So, all right.
He was the original Brad Majors in the first play version of Rocky Horror Picture Show. So he had a big part in that. That's his real claim to fame. Now I'm in the trivia portion, and it's really great. But I think that let's not shit on Christopher Malcolm's grave. He delivered some poor lines.
He's the one who shit, because he really shit the bed when he was giving his line delivery then.
You know who didn't shit the bed? Admiral Akbar, when he declared it was a trap. Even the military conversations in Return of the Jedi were better.
Why is that such a big thing? Like, it's a trap. Like, I know, with Family Guy and their remake with the cartoon, but why was that even a point of contention? Like, everyone loves saying that.
Because we all find ourselves in situations where we should have been a little bit more cognizant of the negative situation we were entering, and turns out it was a trap.
Admiral Akbar, that was his first movie, right?
Yes.
Okay. How the hell? Seriously, I'm thinking the rebels are the worst put together army ever, because of all people to lead you, you're gonna pick a guy named or his race is named after a delicious dish that you can get at Olive Garden or any other Italian restaurant.
Calamari, the Mon Calamari. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't understand how that particular individual became an admiral. If they were like on the water, space water, whatever it is, like if it was like a sea battle, then I could totally get it. Like, hey, Admiral Akbar, you're one of the kings of the sea. You know these seas better than anyone. But I do not buy that an octopus or squid is going to be really knowledgeable about space and space tactics.
Did you know that NASA astronauts train underwater for spacewalks and activities?
Yes.
I think that space and under the sea, similar. Not a lot of breathing air. Not a lot of breathing air.
That squid had arms and legs.
He did.
Feet.
He did.
Like human feet. I don't think
They were
Admiral
webbed.
Akbar's was
They were
probably
webbed.
wearing like size
Toes
10
webbed.
Jordan 1s. So I don't know.
I'm holding back a considerable amount of like EU extended universe knowledge that I'm not going to give to you, but know that they did touch a lot on Akbar in they had like a whole episode on Mon Cala, which is the home planet, in the Clone Wars series, and in Rogue One they actually had multiple Mon Cala generals in the rebellion. They built the big ships. There was a shipbuilding planet.
Okay. Hey, good for them. I was just curious as to why like everyone's just like infatuated with it's a trap. It's a trap.
Because Return of the Jedi is the best Star Wars movie.
Ooh,
That's
I don't know about that. I like it. Hey man, I like the movie, but I will say that my opinion changed after rewatching both because there was so much more in Empire that was done better, in my opinion, and things that were just like really half-assed in Jedi. The characters being number one. So like Han Solo and Carrie Fisher did not give a shit. Like and that chemistry just wasn't there in Jedi compared to Empire. And you cannot disagree with that. You cannot disagree. There's playful banter in Empire, whereas Jedi is just like all of a sudden Han Solo loses his confidence with Leia. Like, yeah, sure, he was frozen in carbonite, but then all of a sudden he's like, you love Luke, don't you? And it's like, come on, man. What happened to the, scruffy nerf herder that is...
I mean, you don't know what other effects that carbonite freeze had on that poor guy. You don't know what's going on. He doesn't know where he's been. In the movie, he thinks, he talks about delusions of grandeur because Luke thinks that he's a Jedi master. And then all of a sudden, his entire perception of the world is rocked because Luke has become more powerful and wise and smarter, which isn't hard to do, than Han Solo.
True.
So which one do you think that chicks would dig more? The suave guy with the laser sword or the guy who hangs around with a walking carpet?
Dude, girls love dogs. And that's a real point of contention for a lot of people. And Han Solo had like a 7-foot dog with him.
She refers to him as a walking carpet at one point. So I don't know how she feels about that.
Women also love to have carpets, I guess. I don't know. It's just
I don't know.
Great decorated, nice centerpiece to a room, accent colors.
Shag was in the 70s and early 80s. Yeah. But I think that you just see the trust and the planning with Luke and Leia and how they work together. And then, they like.
Hold on. Wait. Trust and planning. Where do you see trust and planning? Effective trust and planning.
The escape from Jabba.
Okay. That's one. What else? Where's the expert planning from Luke? And even that plan was not really that great. So that plan itself was like, Ocean's 11, which by the way I really loved, but so many people got involved in that, and there was like Plan Bs and Plan Cs in case A and B didn't work. You know why other people, some people like don't do Plan Bs or Plan Cs is because their Plan A is going to work.
When did
Luke
Plan A work in Empire Strikes Back at all? It
did for the
didn't, because
Empire.
the whole movie was a failure.
It worked for the Empire.
No, the Empire was trying to capture Luke. They couldn't even do that. They like, oh, we turned off the hyperdrive. It's fine. Oh shit, they got away.
But it worked excellent, and like really it was like executed flawlessly in the sense that everything that they were trying to do to deter the rebellion from succeeding, depend on a certain point of view.
I don't remember there being much deterrence for the rebellion. They had the one battle at the beginning, but then the rebellion was off doing other stuff, and it was just Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO that were being pursued after Hoth to Bespin.
Right. Okay.
And
so what did they do? That was another thing too. Like, what did the rebellion do after that? Like, meet at the rendezvous point, which they never did.
Well, they
I
had
don't
to
think there's
eventually do that because, yeah, I mean, they did a thing at one point, but they weren't involved in the movie. The movie followed the characters.
So it's
And
a
how-
character-driven story.
Right. And there's more
Which-
characters in Empire or in Return of the Jedi.
Shittier characters and not character-driven, I would say. As much as I love the Ewoks, they were.
I think that you see Vader's true character at the end of the film. You actually get to see his face, right? In Empire, you get a little look at the Bernie in the back, but in general, it takes off the mask. Another great Kevin Smith talking point in Mallrats. But
It wasn't Mallrat. That was Chasing Amy, wasn't it?
Was it Chasing Amy?
Chasing Amy, where
At the beginning of Chasing Amy, yeah. What's a
That's-
Nubian?
Yeah, that was like really funny too. But like, I was also kind of bummed about that, to where like, and correct me if I'm wrong, when I was watching it, I was actually watching Jedi on VHS at the time. I think Betamax was kind of phasing out, but I did watch Empire and A New Hope on Betamax. I didn't even think that, like, sure, Vader had his hand cut off in Jedi, but I don't even remember like the Force lightning even hitting him that much. Did that happen, or was that like digitally added after?
No, that was in the original movies. Like, he was smoking out. They showed the skeleton. Like, that was
Why-
in the original cuts.
So why was Vader not as resistant to that as Luke was? Like, I mean, Vader pretty
Luke
much,
wasn't
like, had armor.
resistant. Luke was like writhing on the ground and
He should've
calling
died.
for help like a bitch.
He should have died then, if that's the case.
It
'Cause
hadn't
he got
taken him
hit.
past the point yet.
He got hit so much longer than Vader did.
I mean, it didn't kill the Emperor when he got it reflected back at him. It just made him look old. I'm old.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like,
And you cannot tell me Ian McDiarmid isn't amazing as Palpatine.
he's good. Very good. Very good. I have no complaints about him. He's excellent. Probably the best character in Jedi. Best actor in Jedi as well. Except for that whole. Well, I mean, it's not his fault, it's the writers. I still think if you go back and rewatch that little back and forth between him and Vader, it does not make sense. And like, he's like, yep, I saw it. Oh, you mean you saw the thing that you didn't see earlier 2 seconds ago when we were talking about it? Like, doesn't make sense. But that's not his fault. Just
No.
like,
No, just like midichlorians aren't Liam Neeson's fault.
it's true. Do you have a problem with that, with midichlorians? Just sidebar.
No, I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem with the consistency of it, right? And 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 this is like complete squirrel, right? But they introduced a thing from a science perspective. They introduced a technology thing, and then all of a sudden, all the fucking Jedi are dead, and Yoda doesn't have any readers or nothing, and they know that Luke is Vader's kid, so they probably don't need to test him for shit, right? Like, I go to the doctor and they make me fill out like a medical history of my family, and they just assume that I'm, like, oh, somebody had heart disease. Oh, well, you're probably predisposed for that. So I'd guess the kids of the immaculately conceived Jedi probably are going to be able to move shit with their little, wavy hands. So I don't have a problem with it. It was just a biological organism that they were trying to explain. If you read the book on episode 1, which I totally did because I'm a nerd, and I read it like pre the movie coming out, like I literally read it in, I don't know, 1999. But it Obi-Wan describes it as it's in everything. It binds us and holds the universe. I have no problem with the midichlorians thing. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's like having a problem with why the tauntaun's warm on the inside.
With
You'd think things that lived on a snow planet were cold-blooded. Not a tauntaun.
that doesn't mean their body temperature is cold. Doesn't mean that. That's a myth.
Everything in this is a myth.
That's true. It's true. Okay, so I'm just going to give my overview as to why all of a sudden everything was more clear to me in terms of Empire, and I understand why people like that movie better. I think the action's better. I think the acting is better. I think
Can I ask the acting?
Yeah.
There's not much of a divergence between the cast of Empire and the cast of Jedi. And you just said that Ian McDiarmid was a revelation. So I'm trying to figure out where the real quality acting came in Empire Strikes Back.
So from the main characters, Han and Leia, way more chemistry in Empire. And I think I said it a little bit earlier. There's playful banter. There's kind of like the whole, I like you, but I don't want to show it that I like you. You could buy into it that, Leia and Han were doing exactly the things like that people do when they like each other, but it's that reluctance kind of romance, right? Because like I don't necessarily want to be associated with this scruffy looking nerf herder that's a space pirate, because I'm royalty, which kind of automatically just disappears after a while. It doesn't become anything big. I just become a general. But anyways, I think their chemistry is better. Luke was, I actually bought his acting a little bit more in Empire compared to Jedi, because Jedi was like, he exuded so much fake confidence, and that's exactly how his acting came out, was fake. It's like he's not even, it was almost like truly representative of his acting in it. It's like, hey, you're putting on this front that you're this powerful Jedi, and you're kind of putting on this front that you're a good actor. The execution just wasn't there.
So I have a few thoughts, if I may.
Sure.
One, you're talking about different stages in a relationship between two people, right? You're talking about the chase versus the budding of a relationship that eventually, yields a dark child. But you're
it's
talking
still
about
a chase. So you're talking
it's
about
not
Han
a
and Leia,
chase, right? in Jedi. They've I loved you and I knowed already.
Yeah, but it's almost like he's back to square one. Like, why can't you just?
Because he's been frozen for X amount of time. And the person that he saw as his main rival for this woman's heart is now an all-powerful Jedi. Speaking of the all-powerful Jedi, I think that we can both concede the fact that Mark Hamill, though he is a professional actor, is not a good actor.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he is my Luke Skywalker, and I will forever appreciate that role for him. But I really can't watch him do anything else except the voice of the Joker. He's really not a good actor.
I did enjoy him in the Chucky remake.
I no haven't
He's the
seen it. He's the
Oh, man.
voice of Chucky, right?
He's the voice of Chucky, and,
Yeah,
and
he can voice anything he wants. He was the voice of Skeletor in the new Motu, and I was a big fan of that. But as an actor, a good debate would be worst actor, Hayden Christensen or Mark Hamill. And I think Mark Hamill would win because there are other movies in which Hayden Christensen is actually decent as an actor and doesn't look like he's ready to eat dinner. So
I wouldn't say
I
he's
mean,
ready to eat something. I don't think it's dinner. I think it's non-consensual, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. He's ready to eat the entrails of all the younglings. So I think that there's definitely Mark Hamill's not a great actor, but I think that the tude of Luke at that point is more calm and self-assured because he is a Jedi, even though he has to say that I am a Jedi. I mean, at that point, but I think that in general, as you age as a person, you're talking about somebody who was an adolescent in A New Hope, and then in that weird, awkward college years phase where you might have some self-confidence, but you really don't, and you don't know what's going on, to like the post-college, like, okay, I understand and have control over my life at this point. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, they're dead. I've dealt with it now. I meditated on it.
In regards to, what I was wondering about in Empire, did they sit down and have dinner with Darth Vader after, they
No, that's another part of that movie that made absolutely no sense. It was like, we're gonna have a Luke who's coming to dinner scene, R.I.P. Sidney Poitier. But what is going on here? No. And how does Vader eat? He doesn't. The helmet, like, it has to be a milkshake or something. Like, what is going on? And we know that by new material that comes out, we know Boba Fett does take his helmet off in the new show rather regularly. But normally Mandalorians don't take off their helmets. So both of these people, what are they? They're like, I would just like to watch you eat, please. Like, what's going on here? That was a completely ridiculous thing. And Lando's like, yeah, I just made a deal to thing. And then like Lando isn't immediately standing behind them like, ha 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 ha, look at my cape. Like,
he didn't
what?
want to do it.
I get that. I understand why he got on his little fancy little microphone with the finger up and gave his announcements as he was the leader of that establishment, the proprietor of this establishment, or whatever he said. It was just Billy D. Williams. I mean, I love me some Billy D, but you want to talk about terrible acting in The Empire Strikes Back? Is it, hello, what have we here? Like, really? How you doing, Chewbacca? Where are you going here?
They were, yeah, and that was a little bit inconsistent. Like, I'll give you that. They were just talking about how, they weren't necessarily the best of friends, but he knew a guy. And it's very him and his little robot helper, Lobot. Is that who it was?
Lobot, yes, that is the dude with the reverse VR helmet.
Okay, so now I gotta ask you a question. So Lando is this space gigolo, right? And he will fuck anything that moves. He had sex with an was it a droid? Was it a droid?
The droid
Solo?
that's now embedded in the Navicomputer for the Millennium Falcon.
Whatever. Yeah. But yeah, that's correct, right? She was a droid.
I don't know what the pronouns of a droid would be, but judging on the tonal modulation of the voice actress, it was it leaned towards a more feminine sound.
Right. But no, I'm not asking about, droid pronouns or whatever, if it was
They them,
classified
I think,
as.
is it.
Yeah, sure. But that was a droid though, right? I'm not making like that's the classification of the being that it was.
Lobot or
No, not Lobot though.
Lobot was a person with some implants.
Okay. So I think Lobot and Lando may have been crossing
You
streams.
think they might have been docking
Yes.
in the literal
Yes.
sense?
I mean, hey,
In
why
the
not?
biblical
Like,
sense? I mean, he seemed lonely because he was going to jump Leia on the landing platform. So I don't know, man.
He did not discriminate in terms of getting action.
I mean, Billy
so.
D. Williams is a space gigolo. So again.
I would love to hear if, Lando was just this like insatiable freaking freak.
Oh, you
that
know,
just
you're
did
going to be able,
everything and
you're going to be
everyone.
able to, because they are doing a Lando series, and they have gotten, I believe, Childish Gambino to sign on for that.
Did they really?
So
Like,
there
it's
should
official?
be. I'm pretty. You know what? I'm going to use this magical thing that I have. There is a new series coming to Disney Plus that is Lando Calrissian focused.
Do you think that they're going to focus on his gallivanting? Because I don't think Disney Plus is going to do that.
No, I don't either. But
Maybe they
yeah.
can fill in some gaps in his story, because there's certainly some inconsistency, and we need to fix some of the stuff. We need to, do
I'm
some
not
type
gonna
of
lie.
retro fix.
I'll totally watch what they retcon, and I celebrate Donald Glover in anything he's in.
He's good.
So
He's good.
totally good with it. And selfishly and maybe a little what's the word? Maybe a little controversially, I don't mind
Lando and
no,
Lobot getting
no.
together.
No, I mean, whatever floats your boat. But I didn't mind Aiden or Alden Enrich, or however you say his name.
Ehrenreich.
Yeah, that guy. I did not mind him as Han Solo. Did not. I thought that he got enough of the mannerisms to be passable.
You and me have had this conversation before, that I just do not believe he was the character. I thought if you take
He
it,
was the character then. If
who
we look at
automatically
high school
bitter
Danny
guy.
versus current Dan, I think that we would see some inconsistencies.
Yeah, but that was like almost overnight. Like, it seems like it was just very, very quick
It was.
for that turnaround.
I mean, it is considerably better than saying that. I don't know. I'm okay with it. I didn't mind it. Again, it's fantasy.
I'm
So I didn't
glad
mind
that fantasy only lasted one movie, because I just did not enjoy it whatsoever. Woody Harrelson, excellent actor, excellent performance, great. The droid that Lando had his ways with, I thought that was like a really cool voice actor and performance. Lando and Solo was really great. Donald Glover. But I guess this was like a big digression from Empire and Jedi. But Lando and Jedi's acting is just flat out awful. Awful. Like, almost to the point of full of shit that it was so awful.
He doesn't really get to do much except tell all the craft to pull up, and we're gonna last longer than we would against that Death Star. He gets to deliver a couple one-liners, but he fades into the background as there are more larger characters to come into it. We've been introduced to Lando. We know what he does.
General Calrissian, once again, another prime example as to why the rebellion military leaders are horseshit.
They're not. They don't have like a long-term guy that could come in and do this.
How do they even succeed? That's what, like, the Empire should just be embarrassed that they've lost to a bunch of these rebels with poor leadership.
It's the Empire has poor training. Stormtroopers can't hit a target if you pay them.
True,
Pew pew. Should have stuck with the clones, bro.
but they have sheer numbers. The numbers are, and
You
they
know what?
still exist after the
It
fact.
helps when you exponentially blow them up. Like one Death Star, pew, second Death Star, pew. That's got to be at least, 2/3 of their overall force. The force depletion on the Death Star attacks were crazy.
The but so you truly think that the acting is still better in Jedi?
I think the acting in all the Star Wars movies is not Oscar worthy.
What I'm saying is better.
I don't look at it as individual performances, right? I look at it as the ensemble and the way that they're conveying this complete divergence from anything that's been done before.
Okay, well, is it fair to say that from an individual look at those movies, one could make the argument, and probably the popular argument, I mean, there's no question it's the popular fact that Empire is the better movie.
I don't know. I love a good resolution. I love a good winning of a revolution, and I love a good triumphing over evil.
I
And
said
again,
earlier, I like
it's not a movie of failure, because everything that everybody tries to do in Empire is a failure.
but
The
a
only win
failure
is
in
when
a-
they go get Luke off the tower. Like, oh, we're gonna go get Luke. Holy shit, they got Luke. That was the only thing that somebody set out to do and actually pulled it off. Homeboy couldn't even pick up a rock on Dagobah without dropping it. I mean, let's be honest. Yoda meant to pick up his X-Wing, and Yoda did. Like, that's it. Very few, like, I'm going to do this and actually pull it off. I'm going to go save Han and Leia. Oh, shit. That didn't work out. I'm going to turn Luke to the dark side. Nope. Cut off your hand and let you commit suicide. Again,
you bring up a good point.
how you going to fall that far and not get fucked up?
Yeah.
And if
So-
you look at the slide that he went down, it wasn't a smooth slide. It had a lot of situations that would like take a chunk out of you. And like this makes no and okay, oh, did he use the force to slow himself down? But he couldn't use the force to see that he was about to get his fucking hand cut off. Or to
It
grab
was-
his lightsaber as he was falling, which he was able to do early in the movie, but that was his good grabbing hand apparently that he lost. Oh no, my force hand. Shit.
I thought I almost misheard you. I thought you said foreskin, but the funny thing is,
No,
about
he
that,
was
like,
circumcised in more ways than one in that movie.
I was watching it again, and I couldn't help but laugh when Vader's like force throwing all the shit at him.
And he's just like, eh.
So that is like a prime example of shitty acting in an Empire, which I will totally own, because he swung at a box and then another box hit him from the opposite side,
Yeah.
and it was like the biggest delayed reaction or slowest reaction to
Mhm.
something that was coming at him.
Yeah, it was also a terrible battle scene.
No, I disagree. Besides that part, and actually, there was a making of the movies. I want to say it was like an anniversary type of documentary
Mm-hmm.
that Mark Hamill understudied and went through extensive training in kendo and karate for Empire, and he did not do.
No, he
anything,
used it
or
in
maybe-
the Jedi fight, though. In Return of the Jedi, there was kicks and flips and spinnies, and the soundtrack backing that entire sequence was so killer from John Williams with the there's a choir backing with the basic it was
little
so strong, so strong. Where
But-
the music in Empire was just like, ooh, the box throw music. Let's play that. Like, no.
But that's also like from a movie like cinema perspective. That's a lot of directors will choose to do that to where they won't have music playing at like the brutalest of fights because it's just the raw emotion.
That's not a Star Wars move, though. That's not a Star Wars move.
Who was the director? And because it was a different director from
So-
Empire,
Lucas directed A New Hope.
right?
He also directed all 3 prequels. Irving Kershner directed Empire Strikes Back. Other things that Irving Kershner has directed, you may know them. On Deadly Ground with Steven Seagal. Never
Ooh.
Say Never Again with Sean Connery. The only Bond movie that's really not a Bond movie.
Yes.
He also directed RoboCop 2, which is the less brutal and kind of hilarious RoboCop. I think that's when RoboCop gets a jetpack, if I remember correctly. That could be
actually,
RoboCop 3.
I enjoyed
may be getting my
RoboCop
RoboCops.
3. I think that was the jetpack where he's like in a future fight with a whole bunch of normal citizens on the street.
Yeah.
Because, and by the way, this is another strong opinion to me. RoboCop fucking sucks. RoboCop sucks.
The first movie, due to its just outright brutality, I thought was pretty great.
Dude,
But the rest of them are so bad.
RoboCop himself, no crook should ever get caught by RoboCop.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think so either. Like, I'm with you. Only stupid people who don't run and decide to fight end up getting caught by RoboCop. Yeah. Only Red Foreman gets caught by RoboCop. I get that. I totally do.
Geriatric men and women could walk faster than RoboCop.
I mean, dude, it's a cyborg in the 80s. Let's be honest. I mean, we couldn't even make a like look at what cars from the 80s did. You couldn't even
man.
it's bad.
I mean, in the 80s, I guess that wasn't in the future.
No,
That was like present, like 1980.
it was it was pre-present day. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty present day. I you know what? I can't say for sure. I haven't RoboCopped in a while. But I also haven't watched the more modern day version of RoboCop because no, my RoboCop, I'll buy that for $1 is my RoboCop.
My RoboCop, I like my RoboCop to walk as slow as shit. That's what.
Dude, just like I like my Star Wars to have resolution at the end, not brother and sister hugging on the bridge of a ship.
I agree. That's one of the reasons why when I was younger I did not like Empire. But do you as a whole, do you dislike movies or are less prone to like a movie if it has like a sad or like unfortunate or tragic ending?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think that I just enjoy movies that I feel resonate in different ways. I think that Jedi is a much more positive movie. I think there's a lot more inspiration.
Well, it's meant to be a positive
in
movie
Jedi,
and an
right.
inspiration. It solves. So let me ask you this then: Empire. If you feel the fact that the whole thing was, everyone failed,
Mhm.
and it was the director's MO, then it achieved its MO. Am I right?
Well, I don't think Irving Kershner failed at anything. I like Irving Kershner.
No. I'm saying like he wanted it. He wanted to highlight the facts that everything goes wrong, and these heroes are not.
But everything
infallible.
went wrong for both sides. It didn't just go wrong. The Empire struck back very inaccurately.
I would say they definitely struck back in the fact that they took down one of the main characters, one of the heroes, almost, maim. Well, I mean, they did maim the main.
They
character.
maimed or injured. They did not
Yes.
kill.
Right. No, they didn't.
But Han was trying to leave anyway. Really? Because they kept chasing him, he couldn't just peace out.
Which is a failure as a good character. So one can almost say that he failed on being a bad friend or a bad.
He came back to help, but
Yeah,
then he had
that's
to take care of the other thing because of the bounty hunter on Ord Mantell.
right. That's what I'm saying though, is that like so his failure was also a victory in the sense that like he didn't leave his love interest and friends hanging. He tried to leave. He would have left,
Right,
but
he was trying to transport the money that he picked up in A New Hope that was in the Falcon to go give it to Jabba, so he didn't like have to get hunted down by Boba Fett.
yeah, I get that. But you know what? That's his own damn fault because of the fact that how much time did he have between A New Hope and Empire to do that? Because he turned into a heck of a fighter, according to that general. He must have been around for a little while. But in that movie, what my point being is that in that movie, he failed at being a bad friend because he still stuck with them. Um, so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, he could have bailed on everyone. He wanted to bail on everyone, but did he really? No, he almost redeemed himself in that character of still sticking around, and yeah, he ended up getting
But he
caught.
didn't stick around. He was just trying to leave the same place. The whole movie was them trying to get away from Hoth. He didn't go to the rendezvous point. He was trying to get Leia out of there. And then
Right.
they couldn't go anywhere because he couldn't escape. He couldn't figure out a way to get away. And he trusted Lando.
Yeah, but he could have
He
done,
couldn't even
like
put his ship together the right way with all of his stolen military parts.
I think you're missing my point though, is the fact that like in the whole loop of failure, it was not a failure um, of them trying to get away, because if anything, one could argue and make the argument that saying he brought them even closer together for the next movie, which that's why Luke went to go out to save him. Sometimes it takes a tragedy to really spawn a victory and a happy
But
ending.
Luke was already trying to go to save them. Luke left Dagobah to go save Han before he was in Carbonite, failed at doing that, and
I'm not I'm not saying I don't care about the failure of everybody else. Yeah, Luke was gonna fail because he wasn't ready, because and Yoda told him that. But I'm saying that not everything in the grand scheme of everything one could say it was Han's unfortunate capture, and like that wasn't a failure. That was like, hey, that tied everything together, which happened in Empire that Strikes Back. Or Empire Strikes Back. I don't know why I said Empire that Strikes Back.
agree to disagree. Agree to disagree, which is
I
kind of where we're at across the board. Like you've got things in Empire that stick out for you, that elevate it there, and I can pick all the nits in Return of the Jedi, but I think that we've really talked about some areas with acting and with character development, and when you look at the full arc, Jedi's meant to be the resolution. Jedi's almost the denouement, the coming down from the character arcs here, because Lucas knew he was stopping.
Okay, so if you're looking at the entire thing, with the resolution, was it really resolved for Luke being the Jedi, the true Jedi? Because even he had like this swagger when he walked into Jabba's palace and like, hey, you're gonna give my friend back, or you're gonna die. And like
So
he already had
define true Jedi.
at the end of the movie, would he, in your opinion, be considered a true Jedi? Because that's all
Yeah,
what it comes down to, is our opinions of everything. And you're saying
I would
yes.
say so. I think that he vanquished a Sith Lord in Vader. He vanquished him first. He also found the good and converted and worked together to destroy evil. So
Did he find it though?
No,
'Cause I
because
don't think he
Anakin
did
was
it.
the chosen one, right? Anakin resolved the balance.
He brought balance to the Force. Yeah.
He resolved the balance. He forgot to get the little like emperor cells that were out on what the hell's the name of the planet? Exegol. He
But wait a
forgot to
second.
flush the extra.
So have
But
you ever heard that the Freddie Prinze Jr. rants about Star Wars and how he says that, like, you know, according to George Lucas, blah blah blah, and he was basically criticizing all the people who are shitting on the new movies. And it's like, hey man, just because it didn't age well for you doesn't mean it's shitty. Like, have you heard that rant?
I've heard it. It was to me, Prince Jr. claiming exposition on the Force is, I get what he's saying, and I don't personally. I never have a problem with the new movies because they can do whatever they want. It's a fantasy world.
Yeah, yeah. So
Like,
I'm not even bringing the new movies into account.
yeah.
But in terms of the reason why I brought that up is because he restored balance, right?
Mhm.
Where's the balance in eliminating the two evil forces on the dark side?
Darth Maul's still alive.
Which,
But now
at
you have
that point,
one
hold on.
Jedi and one Sith. There's
but that
balance.
was never. No
I
one
know.
knew
I'm
who.
just fucking with you. I don't think. I think balance was only brought in the Phantom Menace. Really, it was Vader vanquished. Vader chose his family. He chose good. He fought back against a leader that marginalized him and punished him and all these things, right? He really, Luke, it was the son. If you look at the just the original trilogy, it was a story where the son is able to save the father, right? The son cures the sins of the father, and is able to elevate him. He also does the retribution of the helmet off. Anakin talks about, tell your sister you were right. You were right. I didn't think I had this in me. He's able to really encourage somebody to fight for what is actually right, as opposed to what's powerful, and changes, what is, this the most dangerous character in the universe, arguably, to really, fight back against what he now sees as evil. What he should have seen was evil initially, but he cut up some younglings that was really stoked about it.
He was very excited.
Yeah, no, I want to see what happens with the youngling Force ghosts when they see Force Ghost Anakin. Like, really? How do you get a Force ghost? But in general,
point, man.
I
Good point.
think it's a fun meme. But I think that there's something for retribution. There's something for curing the sins of the father, right? There's that portion of it, right?
But what
Because
about
the whole trilogy was focused on the family and lineage, which is only revealed at the end of Empire Strikes Back, which is why there's that wonderful incest kiss at the beginning of the movie, which appealed to the viewers in the Deep South.
So I will say though, like, there's one major flaw in your touting of resolution, and it's one of the biggest hanging threads, is that Anakin never saw his daughter. There was no resolution there. And in terms of, like, I would think that Leia would have some type of issue with realizing and finding out that, like, Darth Vader
There's a
she
really
had
cool
triple
book.
whammies.
There's this really good book around it. It's called Bloodlines. It was released rather recently.
Dude,
where
I'm
she
gonna have
deals with a lot
bloodlines
of
in
it.
my underwear if you keep on mentioning books about all this
Oh,
stuff.
dude, maybe you should be more cultured. Maybe you should be more cultured. all the comic books you've read, I think that you'd want to graduate to something with actual like not as many pictures. But no, I agree, and but it's Luke knew his father's name growing up. He knew some of it. Leia thought that she was the daughter of Bail Organa. Like she was raised as an adopted child, and she didn't know she was adopted until 5 minutes before Vader's dead, basically.
No,
Right?
because
So
remember, she said that she remembered her mother, which doesn't make any sense.
no, it absolutely doesn't. It doesn't because yeah, Padme died. But she
So
could have been talking about Bail's widow. We don't know.
no, because he said, "Oh, my wife always wanted a daughter, so I'll take the girl."
Right. No, you see her then, but you don't see her later on.
Gotcha.
So she could have died early. Like we don't know what that is. I'm making excuses, of course, for, dialogue planned before there was any larger scale universe built whatsoever.
True.
There's Marvel movies where they've retconned stuff too there, sir.
Yeah,
So
no. I get it.
again, it's I like the resolution, the epic good versus evil fight at the end, where now you've got good as strong as or good as strong as evil. Prior, you knew Luke wasn't going to beat Vader. You didn't in Empire think he was going to win, but now you've got this fully developed Jedi Knight that's ready to nut up or shut up, man.
But one of the reasons why I didn't like Empire is because the bad guys won. Darth Vader won. But it's just it shocked me nonetheless. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a second, this is how the movie ends? Like that was like it drew enough of a response from me, even as a
Mm-hmm.
little kid who didn't understand all that stuff, that like, oh wait, good guys don't always win. But you know what? They're gonna go out and find Han Solo and they're gonna go kill Darth Vader or whatever, right? Like, so it's one of those things. Is like, even just as a little kid, I was like, oh, okay, well, in the next movie, they're gonna make things right. Didn't make Empire a bad movie or a worse movie than Jedi, which it's not. I think in my reformed opinion, I still enjoy both movies, but I think it's just a better overall experience. Resolution, I totally get it. 100% agree with you. That is not my only reason, though, as to why I would like a movie. And actually, I kind of have this thing for like bummer movies where the bad guys win or like something tragic happens to the hero or the protagonist. Yeah, like I like bummer endings. Not all the time, but like, you know, that shock value, which I like, which I got a little bit of that from Empire. The only shock that I got from Jedi is when they remade. I think it was for the 20th anniversary, 30th anniversary, whatever it was.
He did that. He messed up all the movies.
He took out the little villager music that I really liked. You know, it was just a small little feel, like hitting the little stormtrooper helmets, and that was like the xylophone and stuff. And I actually kind of like that little musical number in the beginning of Jedi as well too. And then it turned into like this big ordeal.
Yeah, it got really crazy. Like Max Rebo really got a crazy band,
Yeah.
as opposed to just the small thing. Yeah, no. So there were additions. So you want to get into special editions, and we can have that conversation. I don't think there was much done to Empire from a special edition perspective.
Just a few visual effects, right?
Yeah, visual effects.
Probably because the reason why it was a better movie, and he felt like he didn't need to do any of that stuff.
I think that the so a few things about Jedi for me, from a special edition perspective. The Jabba's palace scene with the extra, yeah, didn't need it. But what I did like about the way that they changed the ending, I don't mind the Hayden Christensen retcon because the other person you never see. So this at least gives it there. I don't like that he's a young man instead of an older man, but whatever. But what I did like is the look you got into all of the different worlds that were now free because of the actions of Luke and Anakin. You know, the
makes sense.
impact of the end of the movie was felt a little bit bigger. You know, they mimicked you know, people pulling down statues of Stalin in World War II, and they really they got into it, and you got to see all these celebrations on all these different worlds, which another thing was really awesome. It was such an impactful ending to the entire universe.
I agree. And like I totally get that. And I know from a grand perspective. And I think I was listening to another podcast or I was, you know, I heard as to why that they wanted to do that because like, yeah, they were just celebrating on Endor in the original movie, but it did not, you know, they didn't save the galaxy, but
Yeah.
in that celebration, it did show that they did so and everyone appreciated the fact. Now, one could go into the argument is like, how the hell did everybody know? Sure, they may have seen the Death Star blow up, but like, are everyone just like on their cell phones, just being like, dude, this happened, and like everyone all of a sudden just starts shooting off.
No,
fireworks
everybody
and
was a
fucking
little blue
flying.
hologram doing dances. They're like TikTok dances via the little blue hologram communication capabilities
Were they
in a
like? I didn't
galaxy
see
far,
that
far
stuff.
away.
I didn't pay attention to that. Did they actually have like the little blue holograms to each other?
Well, I mean, that's how they communicated. So I'm just assuming that that's what they did. Because, you know,
True, but that, yeah, I won't make a huge deal because I understand why they did it, but it was one of those. It's funny though. It's like after the battle, they Luke knew to go back to a treehouse. Like, hey, I just
Luke
burned
just
our
went and
dad.
found them.
Did he just go and find them? Because he
And
certainly it was
He
very
went to the treehouse before he burned Vader, I think.
no. He burned Vader and then he went back to them all smiles and happy, like, hey, I'm glad we won. I burned our dad. And then he stares off.
Well, he didn't do a good job burning him because Kylo got the mask and it was
Yeah.
not completely burned.
That's a story for another time.
Yeah, well,
Man, I still enjoy Jedi, but I will kind of walk back on my statement saying that Jedi was the better movie.
well, without Empire, there couldn't be Jedi. So I will give you respect on your decision and kind of. I think we got to call this a draw on who's right and who's wrong. Even though I'm right and you're wrong.
I had fun with this, you know, like I learned a few things from you because you're the Star Wars expert, and I am just a young Padawan when it comes to some of that stuff. I had to Google what that meant because I had no idea what it meant to begin with. But yeah, but it's kind of fun. This episode was really fun because we brought up a lot of like crazy shit out there. I mean, Highlander came up, RoboCop and how shitty RoboCop is came up, and it was just fun. It's good fun, and it wasn't just limited to Star Wars. So I enjoyed it. I hope you did too, and for our audience, I hope you all enjoyed it as well. But once again, I'm Dan,
And I'm Mark.
and I can do this.
And I can do this all day. We'll get better.
All right, we'll
at
see you
that.
next time, everybody.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.